So, if you can remember from our vocabulary term from yesterday, expected value, or the mean of a discrete random variable. Here's the formula. We're going to use the mu, or it can be represented by e to the capital X. Capital X is what? A random variable. Where we're going to take our values of our x, regular x, and multiply them by the probability, and then add those all together. So the formula means that we multiply each value x and the support of its retrospective probability, f of x, and then add them all together. It can be seen as an average value, but weighted by the likelihood of the value. So it's going to act the same as an average, but it actually means the likelihood of the value of our random variable. So here's how we're going to calculate it, using the calculator. Find the expected value of the random variable. So here's my variable, some event. I have 11, 15, 34. Here's a probability of these numbers coming up. 34%, 54%, 12%. Notice that the probability down here should add to 1, right? You should know that already. Now to do this by hand, what we need to do is multiply 11 by 0.34, 15 by 0.54, 34 by 0.12, and then add those all together. That's going to give you my expected value. Or we could simply have the calculator do that math for us. And here's the steps in entering the calculator. Stat edit, enter the table. We should know how to do that by now. We want to enter this table into my stat edit. Then we want to go to stat, calculate y1 vars. Now this is going to be a little bit different because we have two variables we're talking about. So I need to enter my L1, so my values here for x, and then my probability is going to be my frequency list. How often does that number show up? That's going to be my L2. And then calculate, and it's going to give us our value. So here's how the table should look in L1 and L2. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate that now. So stats, edit, for my L1, my values are 11, 15, 34. L2 is my probabilities. 0.34, 0.54, and 0.12. Let me double check. Okay. Now I'm going to go stats, calculate y1 vars. We used it in the past to find our 5-number summary. But here we're going to use it to find our expected value and our standard deviation. So you normally have this set where you have list 1 in there and then you have this frequency list blank. To put L2, see how L2 right here by the number 2? It's in blue. So second 2, we'll put L2 in there. This is exactly what I want, and it'll calculate it correctly. Now, here's our values. Notice how this means, x with that bar above, means the mean. But in the case of our random variable, this is telling us our expected value. So my expected value here is 15.92. And then down here, the sigma, that is our standard deviation. So if you're asked standard deviation of a random variable, it is right here. So here's how we're going to interpret it. What was the expected value of that data? 15.92. So let's look at one more example. A commuter must pass through 5 traffic lights on her way to work, and will have to stop at each one that is red. She estimates the probability model for the number of red lights she hits as shown below. So the probability of hitting no lights is 5%. 1, 24%. Hitting all 5 lights is about 7%. Compute the mean or expected value of the random variable x. So I'm going to compute my expected value for hitting these number of lights. Oops, on average. Compute the standard deviation of the random variable. So the first thing I need to do is enter this table into the calculator, correct? Let's go over here. So go ahead and do this with me. That way you have everything set for your own practice. Go to Stats, Edit, And if you already have something there, just hit delete, delete, to start over. So I have 0 through 5, that's going to be my L1. Represents the number of red lights I hit on my way to work. And then here are my probabilities. 0.05, 0.24, 0.36, 0.13, 0.15, and 0.07. All right, so again, here's my probability model. This is how it's usually set up, with your random variable and the probability of that variable happening. Now we want to go to stat, calculate, y1 vars. You should have L1 into your list, and L2 should be your frequency list. Again, second 2. We'll put that there. And then go down to calculate. So what is my expected value? Very good, 2.3. Which means what? What does that mean? I got an expected value of 2.3. What does that mean? As far as this problem. Stats is no good with numbers. You have to interpret the numbers and what they mean. So what does 2.3 mean? Okay, very good. I'll probably hit about 2.3 red lights. We'll basically round out. I'll probably hit about 2 red lights. Very good. All right. And what is my standard deviation? 1.3. 1.3. And what does that mean? So let's use this information. Let's make a sentence. I'll probably hit about 2.3 red lights, give or take, what? 1.3. So that's how we can use this information well, that's how we're going to interpret this data. I'm probably going to hit it run into about 2.3 lights, or what about 2 lights, give or take 1 or 2. It could be 3, could be 4. Right? Okay. So there's how we could calculate our random variable, calculating the expected value and the standard deviation. And that's all we're going to do for today.